I stood there watching Lance Torres walk through my plant floor like he owned the place, his expensive suit standing out among the work uniforms and safety gear. 29 years old with a Harvard MBA still warm from the printer, while I'd spent 22 years building this operation from the ground up. The kid moved with that entitled confidence I'd seen before in officers who'd never spent a day in the field, pointing at equipment and nodding like he understood what any of it actually did. My name's Carl Williams, and until that Tuesday morning, I was the senior plant manager at Atlantic Defense Systems. 47 years old, Marine Corps veteran, been with this company since 2002, right after I finished my service in the Gulf. This wasn't just a job for me, it was a mission. The morning had started normal enough. I'd been in the facility at 6 a.m. like always, walking the same route I'd taken every day for over 2 decades. Past the quality control stations where precision mattered more than speed, past the CNC machines cutting components that would end up in vehicles protecting our troops overseas, past the clean rooms where communication system parts were assembled by workers who understood they were handling equipment that could mean the difference between life and death in a firefight. The smell of machined steel and hydraulic fluid, the steady hum of computer-controlled manufacturing equipment, the rhythmic sound of parts being fitted and tested. This place was more familiar to me than my own living room. Hell, I'd probably spent more waking hours here than anywhere else, especially during the early years when we were struggling to prove ourselves worthy of defense contracts. Atlantic Defense Systems had been Gerald Walsh's dream after his own military service. Back in 2002, when I first walked through these doors, we were a smaller operation with 80 employees and big hopes of landing our first major defense contract. Gerald had served in the Army during Desert Storm, and, like me, he understood that the equipment we made wasn't just products. It was protection for the men and women who wore the uniform. I'd watched us grow into a critical supplier for military vehicle components and secure communication systems, with 200 people on payroll and contracts that directly contributed to keeping American soldiers safe overseas. We weren't just another manufacturing company. We were part of the defense industrial base that kept our country secure. My office overlooked the main production floor through thick safety glass, and I could see every workstation from my desk. I knew every worker by name, knew their families, knew who had kids in the military and who was struggling to make ends meet. That wasn't just good management, that was leadership learned in the Corps, where you took care of your people and they took care of the mission. Curtis Adams had been my right-hand man for 8 years, a solid supervisor who'd started on the factory floor and worked his way up through sheer competence and reliability. Lisa Parker ran our shipping department with military precision, a single mom who'd proven herself indispensable during the supply chain crisis 2 years ago. Diane Foster had been my administrative assistant since 2010, knew the company's operations better than most managers, and had a memory for details that would put a computer to shame. These weren't just employees, they were my team. And in the corner of the night shift, working quality inspection with the same attention to detail I'd taught him, was my son Carl Jr. 24 years old, trade school graduate, following in the family tradition of building things that mattered. So when Lance Torres showed up that Tuesday morning with his designer briefcase and his talk about revolutionizing our operational efficiency, I should have recognized the threat immediately. Military training teaches you to spot danger, to read the terrain and identify potential ambushes before they develop. But this wasn't a battlefield I recognized, and Lance came wrapped in corporate buzzwords and management theory instead of hostile intent. I figured he'd be another consultant who'd stick around for a few months, generate some PowerPoint presentations that looked impressive to the board, write reports that would end up in filing cabinets, and eventually move on to the next company willing to pay for his services. The defense industry had seen plenty of efficiency experts over the years, and most of them disappeared after discovering that military specifications and safety requirements didn't respond well to typical cost-cutting measures. I was completely, dangerously wrong. "Everyone, I'd like you to meet Carl," Lance announced to the assembled group of supervisors and department heads in the main conference room. The morning light was streaming through the windows, illuminating the American flag in the corner and the framed photos of military equipment we'd helped build. Lance gestured toward me like I was a piece of outdated machinery they were planning to replace with something more modern and efficient. He'll be transitioning to a strategic oversight role while I handle operational management moving forward. Strategic oversight. I'd heard that phrase before, usually right before someone got pushed out the door. It was corporate speak for We're putting you out to pasture but don't want the legal complications that come with firing a veteran." The room went dead silent. Not the kind of quiet you get when people are thinking. This was the heavy silence of a room full of people who knew they were watching something terrible happen and couldn't do anything about it. You could have heard a pin drop on the polished conference table, could have counted heartbeats in the stillness. Nobody looked at me. Not Curtis Adams, who'd spent countless late nights with me figuring out how to meet impossible production deadlines when half the Pentagon seemed to want everything. Delivered yesterday. Not Lisa Parker, who I'd personally recommended for promotion when she was just a temp worker trying to support her kids after her divorce. Not even Diane Foster, who'd shared morning coffee with me every day for over a decade, who knew my coffee preferences better than my ex-wife ever had, who remembered every birthday and work anniversary without needing reminders. They all found something suddenly fascinating about their notepads, their coffee cups, the company safety posters on the walls, anywhere but my face. I'd seen this before in the military when someone was getting relieved of command. That collective look away that said everyone in the room knew they were watching a career end, but nobody wanted to make eye contact with the casualty. "We need fresh thinking in our production management," Gerald Walsh continued, his voice carrying that forced enthusiasm commanders used when they were trying to sell a decision they weren't entirely comfortable making themselves. Gerald had built this company from nothing after his own military service, and I'd been right there beside him through every major challenge we'd faced. His hand rested on Lance's shoulder like the kid was his prize student, his chosen successor. "Carl can help you understand our history while you lead us into the future." History. There was that word again, delivered like a polite way of saying obsolete. I was being turned into a living museum exhibit, someone to consult when they needed to understand how things used to work back in the old days. 22 years of innovation, problem solving, and keeping this place profitable through multiple economic downturns. And now I was just history to be preserved and referenced when convenient. Lance's smile was all teeth and no warmth, the kind of expression they probably taught in business school for handling difficult subordinates or resistant employees. "Carl's institutional knowledge will be invaluable as we implement modern, operational frameworks," he said, like he was reading from a Harvard Business School textbook. "But we need to move beyond legacy thinking if we're going to compete for next-generation defense contracts." Legacy thinking. Everything I'd done to build this place, every system I'd designed to keep production running smoothly, every protocol I'd implemented to maintain the quality standards our military customers depended on, all of it was now considered legacy thinking that needed his MBA magic to become relevant for the modern world. He pointed toward a cramped space near the loading dock that I'd barely noticed before, a corner office barely bigger than a storage closet. "That area will be perfect for your strategic work, Carl. I'll need the main office cleared out by end of business today." My office. The command center where I'd spent countless nights figuring out how to save this company money, streamline our processes, keep our people employed when defense budgets got tight and contracts got delayed. The place where I'd coordinated our response during the cyber attack that hit our biggest competitor, working 72 straight hours to absorb their overflow and keep critical military projects on schedule. The wall still displayed the Safety Excellence Award we'd won after I implemented new protocols that cut workplace accidents by 60%. The shelf held thank you letters from military procurement officers whose impossible deadlines I'd somehow met. Commendation notes from generals whose equipment needs I'd filled during supply crises. There was a photo of our team celebrating when we'd landed the secure communications contract that had put Atlantic Defense on the map as a serious player in the defense industrial base. 24 years of my professional life, and Lance wanted it all cleared out in 8 hours. "Understood," I said, keeping my voice steady even though my hands wanted to shake. "Military bearing doesn't abandon you just because you're getting railroaded by some corporate consultant. You maintain your composure, you don't give anyone the satisfaction of seeing you break, and you definitely don't make a scene that could be used to justify what they're doing to you." The meeting broke up with people avoiding eye contact and mumbling about getting back to their stations, back to the work of building equipment that would keep soldiers alive in hostile environments. Gerald walked Lance toward what used to be my office, already talking about exciting changes and new directions and modernization initiatives. I stood there for a moment in the empty conference room, listening to the familiar sounds of the plant floor through the walls. the steady rhythm of manufacturing equipment, the distant calls of workers coordinating shipments, the low hum of ventilation systems keeping everything at optimal temperature and humidity for precision work. All the sounds of productive work continuing, the mission moving forward, life going on without any acknowledgement that something significant had just happened. Curtis caught my eye for just a second as he passed by the conference room, and I could see he wanted to say something. 20 years of military service teaches you to read people's expressions, and Curtis looked like a soldier who'd just watched his commanding officer get relieved but couldn't figure out why or what it meant for the rest of the unit. But before Curtis could say anything, Lance called his name from across the room, and Curtis hurried over instead. That single moment told me everything I needed to know about how this was going to work. This wasn't going to be some temporary consultant situation where I'd wait it out until Lance moved on to his next assignment. This was a complete takeover, and I was the primary casualty. The message was clear. The old regime was finished, the new order was taking control, and anyone who wanted to keep their job had better figure out quickly where their loyalties lay. 3 hours later, I was watching maintenance workers haul my filing cabinets toward the basement storage area, while Lance supervised the installation of a standing desk and some abstract modern art where my family photos used to hang. Among those photos had been Carl Jr.'s graduation picture from trade school, 2 years of night classes while working full-time to earn his certification in precision manufacturing. The old setup looks so dated, Lance told the maintenance crew, waving his hand dismissively at the furniture that was being hauled away. We're going for an aesthetic that reflects innovation and forward thinking. The furniture my team had pooled their money to buy me when I got promoted to senior plant manager 6 years ago. The desk where I'd trained dozens of supervisors over the years, where Curtis had come to me when his wife was deployed overseas and he needed help managing the kids while handling increased responsibilities at work, where Lisa had sat crying when her divorce was finalized and she didn't know how she'd manage as a single mom, and I'd helped her restructure her schedule so she could pick up her kids from school. Now it was all being hauled away like yesterday's garbage, replaced with sleek, modern pieces that looked like they belonged in a tech startup rather than a defense manufacturing facility. My new office was exactly what you'd expect from corporate exile, a glorified storage closet with a wobbly chair and a computer that took 5 minutes to boot up. The kind of machine we'd retired from the main production floor 3 years ago because it was too slow for real-time inventory tracking. There was barely enough room for a desk and a single filing cabinet, and the only window looked out onto the dumpsters behind the shipping dock. The message couldn't have been clearer if Lance had hung a sign. This is where we put people we're trying to get rid of. My phone rang almost immediately after I'd squeezed myself behind the tiny desk. "Carl, I'm sorry," Curtis said, and I could hear the stress in his voice. He'd been with me long enough to understand that this whole situation was wrong. Lance called a meeting in conference room A. He said it's just for department heads and senior supervisors. When's the meeting? Right now. He said it's about restructuring the operational hierarchy and implementing new management protocols. I was being locked out of meetings about my own department, the department I'd built from 25 people to 60. The systems I designed were being discussed and probably dismantled without me in the room. No problem, I lied, because what else was I going to say? That it was a problem? That after 22 years I deserved to be in that room? Curtis knew it, I knew it, but neither of us was going to change Lance's mind by complaining. After hanging up, I tried to log into my computer to check emails. Password had been changed. I called IT support. "Sorry, Carl," said Tommy from technical support, a kid I'd helped hire 3 years ago when he was fresh out of community college with a computer networking certificate. Lance requested security restrictions on certain accounts during the transition period. I have to follow protocol. Even my email access had been cut off, in my own department, at a company where I'd worked for over 2 decades. Around 4:30, I found a printed email on my desk. Must have been Diane. She was the only one who still looked me in the eye when she passed by my new closet. The subject line read, "Operational Excellence Initiative, Phase 1 Implementation." I opened it and felt my chest tighten like someone had just sucker punched me. Attached was a 28-page presentation about modernizing our defense manufacturing processes, scheduled for the board meeting next week, with Lance presenting as the author. But as I read through the document, my hands started shaking slightly. Not from anger, not yet, but from the sheer audacity of what I was seeing. These weren't just similar ideas to what I'd developed over the past 8 years. These were my exact systems, copied word for word in some cases. The supplier evaluation matrices I'd spent months perfecting, working nights and weekends to get the algorithms just right. The cost reduction strategies that had saved Atlantic Defense over $1.8 million annually. The quality control protocols that had earned us preferred vendor status with 3 different military branches. Even the emergency response procedures I'd written after that cyber attack 2 years ago, when half the defense industry was scrambling to maintain production while dealing with compromised systems. I'd worked 72 straight hours during that crisis, coordinating with suppliers, rerouting shipments, keeping our contracts on schedule when our competitors were failing left and right. Everything had Lance's name on it. Every innovation, every efficiency improvement, every process optimization that had made our plant the most reliable supplier in the Atlantic Defense Network. He'd taken 8 years of my work, my late nights, my problem solving, and repackaged it as his breakthrough thinking. The same protocols Gerald had called Carl's magic touch at last year's board meeting were now being presented as next-generation manufacturing frameworks designed specifically for modern defense contractors operating in competitive global markets. I read through the whole document twice, looking for any acknowledgement of my work, any mention that these weren't his original ideas. Nothing. According to this presentation, Lance Torres had arrived at Atlantic Defense Systems and immediately identified numerous inefficiencies in our legacy operations that could be resolved through his innovative MBA-level strategic thinking. The kid had been here less than a week and was claiming credit for systems that had taken me years to develop, test, and implement. That night, I didn't call my brother to vent about corporate politics like I might have done in the past. Didn't crack open a beer and feel sorry for myself while watching the evening news. Instead, I went to my home office and pulled out my external backup drives, the ones where I'd been saving every project file, every efficiency report, every supplier contract negotiation for the past 15 years. Old Marine habits die hard. You always maintain redundant records, always have backup documentation, always prepare for the possibility that critical information might be lost or compromised. You never know when you might need to reference an old solution to solve a new problem, or when some crisis would require you to understand exactly how a system had been built from the ground up. What I found as I started digging through those files made my blood run cold. Lance Torres hadn't just stumbled into Atlantic Defense Systems by coincidence. This wasn't some random consulting assignment or a lucky break for an ambitious young MBA. His previous company, Precision Manufacturing Systems, had gone bankrupt 18 months ago after implementing what they called revolutionary efficiency protocols, the same protocols he was now trying to push here at Atlantic Defense, the same cost-cutting measures, the same supplier restructuring, even the same corporate buzzwords about modernizing legacy operations. But here's what really caught my attention. 6 months before Precision Manufacturing collapsed, Lance had received substantial consulting fees from an investment group called Eastern Capital Partners. The same Eastern Capital Partners that had been sniffing around defense contractors across the Midwest for the past 2 years, making acquisition offers that always seemed too good to be true until you read the fine print about operational restructuring and workforce optimization. I spent the next 2 days using my military network to dig deeper into Lance's background. 22 years in the defense industry gives you contacts throughout the system. Former Marines working, procurement at the Pentagon, Navy guys who'd moved into defense contracting, Air Force veterans running operations at competing firms. The military community takes care of its own, and when you need information about potential threats to American manufacturing, people are willing to help. I called Roy Henderson, a fellow Gulf War vet who used to run operations at Precision Manufacturing before they went under. Roy had landed on his feet at a competitor after the bankruptcy, but I could hear the anger in his voice when I mentioned Lance's name. "Carl, that guy was absolute poison," Roy said when I reached him at his new job. He came in talking about efficiency improvements and modernization, but every change he made systematically weakened us, cut our best suppliers, the ones we'd worked with for 15 years, and replaced them with cheaper alternatives that couldn't maintain quality standards. Eliminated safety protocols that had kept us competitive and reliable. What about the financial impact? By the time we figured out what was happening, we were hemorrhaging money and losing contracts. Our clients started going elsewhere because we couldn't maintain delivery schedules or quality specifications. The whole thing collapsed in about 8 months. And after the bankruptcy? Roy's voice turned bitter. Eastern Capital swooped in and bought our client list, our intellectual property, our equipment, everything for pennies on the dollar. Turns out they'd been planning it from the beginning. Lance got a nice bonus and disappeared, left 140 people without jobs, including a lot of veterans who'd been there since they got out of service. The pattern was clear as daylight. Lance wasn't here to improve Atlantic defense systems. He was here to sabotage it from the inside, make it vulnerable for acquisition by his real employers. The efficiency protocols he'd stolen from me weren't meant to work long-term. They were designed to show short-term gains while undermining our foundation, making us look profitable enough to acquire but weak enough to control. I spent Thursday night preparing a comprehensive analysis of Lance's background, his connection to Eastern Capital Partners, the timeline of how he'd systematically destroyed precision manufacturing using the exact same playbook he was now implementing at Atlantic Defense. I documented everything: financial records, timeline correlations, pattern analysis of similar corporate takeovers across the defense industry. Military intelligence training doesn't leave you. You learn to gather information, verify sources, build cases based on evidence rather than assumptions. And the evidence against Lance was overwhelming. Friday morning, I arrived at work early, before the security guard finished his rounds. I placed a manila folder on Lance's desk with a simple note: for your review, historical operational analysis and competitive intelligence patterns. Then I went to handle my 8 a.m. call with our primary steel supplier, one of the few meetings still remaining on my drastically reduced calendar. When I got back to my closet office at 10:30, something had clearly happened. People were clustered in groups throughout the plant floor, conversations stopping abruptly when they saw me. Security guards were stationed outside the executive offices like someone had called in a bomb threat. Through Gerald's office window, I could see him pacing back and forth with his phone pressed to his ear, gesticulating frantically. Diane hurried over to me, eyes wide with excitement and confusion. "Carl, what did you do?" I shared some historical context about operational efficiency patterns, I replied calmly. Lance ran into Gerald's office about 20 minutes ago, yelling about harassment and false accusations. Then security showed up, and now the whole executive team's been locked in conference room A with some people from the board. I nodded and headed toward my exile office, feeling strangely peaceful for the first time in days. The calm that comes from knowing you've done your job properly, gathered the intelligence, and delivered it to the right people. "Aren't you worried?" Diane asked, following me. "About what?" "About..." She gestured vaguely toward the executive wing where you could see suits moving around behind frosted glass windows. "No," I said simply. "I'm not worried at all." At noon, a printed email appeared on my desk, Gerald's assistant requesting an immediate meeting in the main conference room. I walked through the plant floor, and for the first time in days, people weren't avoiding eye contact. Whatever was happening had shifted the atmosphere completely. I found Gerald at the head of the conference table, flanked by Janet Rodriguez from legal and Patricia Williamson from the board of directors. Lance was nowhere to be seen, and Gerald looked like he'd aged 10 years since Tuesday morning. "Sit down, Carl," Gerald said quietly. "The file you left for Lance," he began slowly. "Where did you get that information? Company archives, supplier communications, publicly available financial records, and contacts throughout the defense industry. Everything's documented and verifiable." Janet leaned forward, her expression grim. "Carl, you've made extremely serious allegations about corporate espionage and deliberate sabotage of defense contractors." "I haven't made allegations," I corrected her. "I compiled data and identified patterns. The evidence speaks for itself." Patricia cleared her throat. "Lance has been suspended pending a full investigation. The board is bringing in external auditors tonight. If what you've documented proves accurate, we're looking at criminal charges and potential violations of the Defense Production Act." Over the next week, the whole conspiracy unraveled. The external investigators confirmed everything I'd found and discovered even more. Lance hadn't just been stealing my operational protocols. He'd been feeding our entire competitive strategy, our client lists, our proprietary manufacturing processes to Eastern Capital Partners. The FBI got involved when they realized this wasn't just corporate espionage, but a systematic attack on defense contractors supporting critical military contracts. By Friday, Lance's access had been terminated, his name scrubbed from company directories, and federal agents were building a case that would eventually involve national security violations. My phone started ringing that same day. Word travels fast in defense manufacturing circles when someone exposes a threat to the industrial base. Mr. Williams, this is Linda Stevens from Patriot Defense Solutions. We'd like to discuss a Vice President of Operations position. That was the first of 7 calls I got that week. Protecting American manufacturing jobs and exposing industrial sabotage makes a veteran very marketable in the defense industry. But the real satisfaction wasn't the job offers or even the vindication. It was Monday morning, walking through that plant floor and seeing my team back to their normal selves, no longer worried about losing their jobs to some sabotage scheme. Carl Jr. still had his position, still had a future in American manufacturing. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemy, it's protecting what matters. If this story teaches you anything, it's that the people trying to erase your contributions usually can't build anything themselves. They can only steal what others have created and slap their name on it. And when you've spent decades building something real, with real relationships and knowledge that can't be faked, the truth always finds a way to surface, especially when you're patient enough to let the evidence speak for itself and you've got the training to gather it properly.